silent scan.
Are you listening?
Fight Night Champion was released 7 years ago on March the 1st, 2011. The 5th game in EA's boxing series, and the best one to date in a franchise that just grew from strength to strength with each release. So it really begs the question then, whatever happened to Fight Night? Fight Night 2004 was released in, 2004, as a spiritual successor to EA's previous boxing series, Knockout Kings. The rebrand to Fight Night was more of a reboot, with a new direction for the game based around the imaginatively named Total Punch Control. And whilst the system sounds like typical buzzwordy sports game bullshit that doesn't really mean anything, it would actually go on to reinvent the art of the boxing video game. Allowing players to use different combinations of trigger and analog stick inputs to control everything, like from punches, leaning, blocking, all of it. It was a stroke of genius because it just let the action flow so smoothly, yet so simply as well. It changed the game from a button-pushing slugfest into an art form, like a ballet of bobbing, weaving, blocking and countering, a skill set that you can actually learn. Graduating from throwing hopeful haymakers all the way to methodically picking apart your opponent's defence is extremely gratifying. Fight Night Round 2 developed on the Total Punch Control system by introducing the EA Sports Haymaker, which is basically a really, really big punch. It was a big punch that, if it landed, had a chance of knocking out the opponent instantly, regardless of what state the two boxers were in previously. That could be the first punch of the first round, or it could be a hopeful swing in the dying seconds of the 12th. And sure, it was annoying just to get KO'd out of nowhere. When it happens to you against the computer, it just feels a bit like bullshit, like the game's just wanting you to lose. But that feeling of being on the ropes, knowing that you're losing a fight and struggling to even stay on your feet, and then you just come out swinging with that one killer blow, that's an amazing feeling. On top of this, the game introduced more new features to flesh out the simulation, like a Cutman minigame where players had to treat cuts and swelling between each round, clinching to give yourself a reprieve to gain some stamina and slow down the fight, and most importantly, illegal moves. Nothing beats playing against your mate and knocking him out by punching him in the dick. Fight Night Round 3 was the first in the series to release on the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation, and my god did those games take advantage of that new hardware. I swear in my mind that these games look better than anything we've seen to this day, and I can see watching the gameplay now that that's not necessarily true. But with the HUD removed, your focus was always on the fighters. Big, brawny men in little shorts, just glistening with sweat and punching seven bells out of each other. Ugh! It's all for my viewing pleasure and I love it. The slow motion replays in particular highlight the impressive visuals, with your biggest punches just sending blood and sweat flying across the ring, contorting and rippling the face. These enhanced visuals added to the spectacle of a huge knockout, and I still have great memories of competing with my cousin to see who could get the biggest and best knockout. Fight Night Round 4 was a consistent improvement across the board without reinventing the wheel, and by the time Fight Night Champion came around, the series had just really nailed the feeling of boxing, all the way from the subtleties of fighting on the counter from behind a stiff jab, through to landing that perfect crushing haymaker to slump your opponent to the ground so hard that you question if he's even getting up again. They'd nailed the boxing simulation aspect so much that they took quite a risky direction and decided to do something very, very different. The previous games in the series had always contained a career mode, where you rise through the ranks to get your hands on the championship belt, but Champion went one step further and included a full-fledged story mode, and it was actually good. A gritty story of corrupt fight promoters, bare-knuckle jail brawls and family feuds. It was solidly written and voice acted, especially when you compare it to FIFA's attempt at something similar.
Alexander, right? You looking good last season, kid.
Even better than that, the story actually tied into the mechanics of each different fight. Getting your hand broken by skinheads in jail will come back to haunt you when you aggravate that injury mid-fight and you can't throw right hand punches anymore, forcing you to alter your strategy and come out with the win. Fight Night Champion's story mode was very much ahead of its time in the sports game genre, and it was the icing on a pretty solid cake that I'd grown to love over the years. So it was all the more disappointing when year after year went by without word of a new Fight Night game on the horizon. The series that had been ramping up and consistently improving with each release was now nowhere to be found. When the Xbox One and PS4 were launched 2 years after Champion, it seemed like a no-brainer that a gorgeous, next-gen Fight Night game would be on the cards, as a way for these new consoles to show off their graphical prowess. But alas, it didn't come, and the wait continues. So why did it get canned? Well, it's pretty much the fault of the UFC. In 2013, head of EA Sports Andrew Wilson told IGN, "Right now, a great portion of the core of the Fight Night team are actually the team that are building UFC," citing the rising global popularity of the UFC as the main reason. It's a pretty definitive answer and leaves the Fight Night series in no uncertain terms on an indefinite pause. I guess it's fair, like everyone's been jizzing their pants about the UFC for years now, and it's undeniably more popular than boxing has been for years. The UFC doesn't show any signs of slowing down, and whilst Conor McGregor is still plying his trade in the octagon, it's undeniably captivating. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a place in the market for Fight Night. Firstly, just look around, there are no boxing games right now. That niche is completely empty, it's just waiting for the triumphant return of Fight Night. It immediately grabbed the attention of the people who've been waiting for so many years, long scorned fans of the series. And I think it'd be able to ride the wave of the UFC as well. The best aspect of the UFC games has always been the striking, so why not come and play a game where it's all about the striking and it's done better? Also, I think boxing might be making its way into the consciousness a bit more, and again it's the fault of Conor McGregor. His fight last year with Floyd Mayweather was absolutely everywhere, you just can't escape it. It's probably bigger than any of his UFC fights by a mile. It was the kind of fight that transcends sports. Everyone was talking about it, even people who don't care about boxing or UFC or any of it. Even more recent than that, this YouTube boxing bollocks, KSI versus the white vlogger man. Sure, it was awful, but it got people's attention. Fuck, just put them in the game, put Logan Paul in there, I'm pretty sure everyone would want to buy it just so they could punch him in his stupid fucking face. But lastly, and most importantly, Fight Night was always just good. If you haven't realised from my eulogising over the past however many minutes I've been rambling on now, I really like these games just because they were fucking solid. The graphics were constantly pushing the limits of what could be achieved on a console. The controls were developed to a point of near perfection where landing the knockout blow was just a satisfying conclusion of the sweet science that you've been learning. The story mode redefined what a sports game could be and who it was for. Talking about it in the past tense makes me wonder just how good the series would have gotten if it had been given the chance to develop over the last 7 years. I think it would have been incredible. But then, maybe not. Maybe EA would have sunk their seedy tendrils deep into the flesh of Fight Night, infecting it with all that shit like Ultimate Team cards and microtransactions, all whilst neglecting the modes that people actually want to play. Fight Night will live in my memory as one of the great sports games that disappeared overnight, never to be seen again. Perhaps it's better left in the past, where my immortal memory of it can never be tarnished. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go play some Fight Night.
Thank you.